Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show, a weekly show that is designed to help you be a better leader, think smarter and stand out for all the right reasons. My name is Matthew Haddock and I do hope you are well. Now, today I'm going to dive into a big one, how to answer interview questions that test your ability to improve a company's performance. Let's face it, if you're going to have an interview, they're wanting you to solve problems and improve the company's performance. Doesn't matter where you are on the pyramid of work, they're going to want you to come in, they're going to want you to get that place doing better, making more, answering the questions, answering the calls, whatever that job is. And it's about not just having a generic, I will work hard answer. You know, you're going to have to show them that you can get that business spot on, that they will really want you to get the place running, stop the problems and the things that are holding them back, and improve the measurable improvements. So let's get straight into it. So let's start here then. So let's say you're in an interview and the panel says something like this. Tell us how you would improve operational efficiencies, production and profits without compromising the safety of the company. Now, that's a bit of a loaded question, right? But here's the trick. They're not asking you to solve their problems there and then. They want to see that you're thinking of a process to fix them. You don't know the company that well. You don't know the ins and outs. You don't know how it really ticks. You've done a bit of research. You might know kind of what the company does, but you won't really know what it's right inside there. So your answer should show how you're going to structure, prioritise and balance of the answer. So try starting with something like this as an answer. For me, improving efficiency and profit starts with understanding where waste is, whether that's time, material or process flow, while making sure that we do everything every day that would never compromise our safety or our quality. Then you move on to the how, that approach, what you would actually do to break it down to the next level. So you're setting the scene of saying that you're important to it, you're going to improve efficiency, you can do that, and you're going to be going down to the overall challenges. It's going to be around costs, downtime, waste, labour, shortages maybe. This is where you start to show how you're going to solve and focus on the problems. Here's how you could frame an answer. I'd start by identifying the main bottlenecks. For example, if downtime's high, I dig into that data. Is it planned maintenance? Is it breakdowns? Is it changeovers? So you've set yourself what you would be going to do when you're in there, and you're showing the interviewer that you've got that analytical process. From there, you'd work with, and then you'd put in the name. So you might say, I would work with the engineering, the operations teams to find some quick wins, like in maybe improving preventive maintenance or better scheduling. You see, you haven't gone into the details because you don't have it, but it's showing you thinking of how it would work. And then from there, you could talk about the costs, because of course, costs is massive, and a lot of that might be around waste. So you might answer with something like, I'd review the yield losses or the material variances. Maybe we're over-specifying, or maybe we're handling and storage can be improved with small tweaks which we can add in fast. Again, you don't know anything around it, you haven't gone into the detail, but you're showing the person across the table that you've got that level of detail that you can go into. Then they're going to move on to labour. So you're going to start talking about labour. It's a massive cost in businesses. Think how much labour across the globe has increased recently with the standard minimum wage, with all the taxes that have changed. The fact is that labour is expensive. Therefore, you must utilise that labour as best you can. So what you may say is, that's labour is a big shortage, and you explain that. So again, you're showing how you've got to that point, and it also shows that depth of how you understand why labour is expensive. And you might go on to say, well, that's where I'd look at cross-training. Having multi-skilled operators gives me flexibility in my past roles without the need for additional headcounts. It's about using those people where we can, smarter, not just adding more. Notice how every example connects a challenge to a solution and shows you a team-based leadership. That's what interviewers love to hear. If you are sat on the other side of there and you've got someone saying about how the fact that you're not just going to come in and add, you're going to take waste out, but you're also going to think about multi-skilling, which is developing people, it's going to be brilliant. They're going to love it. Let's go into the next bit. These idea of key drivers. A lot of time you might get asked around efficiencies. So you might say, how are you going to improve efficiencies in your overall equipment, in your safety, in your quality? So next, they might ask you like something about, could you explain to me what a focus plan you would use to improve effectiveness and efficiency in the department? You can say something like this. I'd focus on improving machine efficiencies as well as the main measures of the site efficiencies. So again, you don't know what the efficiencies measures on that site are. You don't know how mature those site efficiencies are. So you might then go and say, I'd be tackling downtime, maybe speed losses and waste. So you're covering it in enough depth to show you know, but not going off on a tangent, because you don't know enough there. And this sometimes is where internal candidates can fall down against an external candidate, because an internal candidate has the curse of knowledge. They know more about the site, they know more about the business, therefore they'll go down a rabbit hole of detail. And that can let them down because it shows they know the site, which is fine, or the area or the business, but they're showing in the depth and almost writing off things that they know they've tried. Whereas you're from outside, you make sure that you're coming in with those generic but could be dug into. So you might say that I'd be driving overall equipment efficiencies. So I would be looking at that. But of course, I'd make sure that safety and quality were also factors in. Making sure maybe you'd say that I would use near misses and quality audits as a positive tool to make sure that whatever changes I was making wasn't affecting the quality. So you're showing balance. You're showing where you are. This shows that you understand that good performance comes from a system that supports people and doesn't just pressure them all the time to get results. Now you move on to your management leadership. Normally when you're in these interviews, they're going to also look for someone who can lead people. So you may be a specialist in one of these subjects. Be a safety specialist, a quality technical person, or an operations person. But they're going to look for someone who can lead. So they're going to be asking questions, a lot of them will be around where you can really try and stand out. So when the question comes in, you need to make sure that you are standing out so that you kind of do it. So you want to frame it in regards to people and improvements. So if they answer something like, how would you get improvements into our business using a leadership and engagement style? You could come back with, to get improvements, you need ownership. So, again, those keywords that people love, interviewers love to hear things like ownership. I'd build engagement through daily performance reviews, open communications, small team problem-solving exercises, where operators help identify waste and suggest improvements. You don't just get better ideas, you get buy-in. You see what you've done with that? That answer kind of covers everything. Let's break that answer down. You're going to go and get an engagement. So you're going to have engagement through performance reviews and open communication. You can have small teams solving problems, and you can have operators buying in. So that shows a depth of engagement. It shows that you're taking in that it's not just you who's going to fix it. It shows you're a coach as not a dictator. Because leadership engagement is about being visible and consistent. So your next one, you might say, well, if I was successful in the role and my task would be to improve the site's performance, I would make sure I was a leader who was engaged and visible. I'd be consistent. You can't improve, you could say something else, you can't improve from behind a desk. You need to get out there, understand the challenges, support the team, and then celebrate the process of improvements. It's a short answer, but again, it shows the interviewer that you're looking at the people. You're going to show them how visual you are. You're going to talk about how you're out there. And that's what people love. In this day and age, you get sucked into being behind a desk all the time, don't you? The number of meetings you've got. And I think meetings are a place to hide. I've said it before. But getting out with the people, understanding it, shows them that you are really there. Not just a piecemeal, not just a pop your head in. Actually showing yourself will give you a lot more understanding of the problems, but it also helps you and your teams get better because you feel how things are. Whenever I've had an issue, I'll go see. If it's a safety, quality, whatever that may be, go see. Because your own eyes will show you a lot more than someone explaining it to you. Next one you might be asked would be around results and KPI monitoring. So metrics, these are the bedrocks. A lot of time metrics are going to be a part of it. So, they might ask, how would you track and sustain your results? You might say, I would make the KPIs visual and meaningful. If you're using OEE, waste, downtime, safety observation, customer complaints. But more importantly, I'd link each metric to ownership at a team level. When team tracks and reflects on their own data, performance becomes part of their culture, not just a monthly report. So that again shows you that you're looking at that team. You're not going to do it yourself. You're going to involve people in those ones. You're going to hit those really important things like downtime, safety, customer quality. You can even drop in a real life example. In my last role, we used daily whiteboards reviews where each line tracked its own performance. Over time, the ownership improved, uptime was good, and we reduced waste without adding costs. That shows you, again, you're going the long way to get you this job. Now, continual improvement or continuous improvement is a big part of what a business is looking for. So they might ask you something around CI, as it's known, so continuous improvement. It could be, finally, can you tell me what you know about continuous improvement and what is your structure of how you might use CI? You could come back with, well, for me, CI is about empowering the team to make small, consistent improvements that builds momentum. I'd use a mix of lean tools like 5S, root cause analysis, quick wins on the boards, and make sure every improvement is measured and shared. And then you close it out with a statement that ties everything together. You might want that. But before you get to that, you want to sort of make sure, and this is a bit of a warning, do not use terminology that they don't understand. You don't understand. I've been in an interview where someone used 5S as an example. And the interviewer then said, well, could you explain to me, what is 5S? And they didn't know. So they'd got it off of an AI tool or they'd picked it off of a Google search, but they didn't actually know what 5S meant. So if you're going to use those kind of tools, you need to know what they are. Even a basic search, I'm sure that you will know it, because if you're going to say, I know CI, you need to know them. Then you're going to get to the end of it. So try to get a statement at the end. So something like this. Ultimately, I believe sustainable improvements comes from engaging people, clear measures, and a culture that values doing things safely and efficiently in the right way. That's a strong finish, and it shows you understand the full picture: people, process, and performance. So, when you're in that interview, remember, they're just going to test you what you know. They're also going to expect you to think. So they're not just going to test what's on the paper. They'll probably dig into that, but they're going to test what you actually know. So show you've got structure, show some logic, and show your leadership. Don't just say, I'd improve efficiency. Show them how, and then show them the why. And show them that you'd do it safely, sustainably, and with your team right behind you. That makes you stand out as a person that they're going to take on. Now, that is what I think around it, but I'm always interested in what you think. So if you want to send me any of your thoughts, drop a comment into wherever you listen to this podcast, or you can send me an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com. Well, that's it for Managermat this week. Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful, and actionable. One last thing, please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider, as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast, and if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.